trying to see on FaceTime, and there was blank screens all morning, so I wasn't sure. Anyway,
yeah, no, I'm just going to double check here my feed. Yeah, the feed, there's a little bit of a delay in the feed, but we're still streaming here.
All right, good. I still got blank. All right, so do you still want me to stick to the 15 minutes or tighten it up, or what would work?
I'll give you the 15 minutes if you need the 15 minutes. If you don't need 15 minutes,
all right, I'm gonna. Yeah, I've got 45 minutes to squish into 15, so I'm gonna just go at it if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
All right. Yeah, and to keep things simpler, usually I do two monitors, but just going to keep it to the one and show the product. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Model Train Show at the Trainfest. We used to live in Milwaukee. We're really disappointed we didn't get a chance to go there and drink all the great beer and food. Anyway, we started about 18 months ago. I'm an N-scaler, and my first layout was in 1968 with my dad. We moved down to Florida, and I built an N-scale layout, and I wanted to have lighting in the cars. And so we have an HO scale car here in the front. I'll pull that back in a second to show the N-scale. And what we've done is we've invented and brought miniaturization to the masses. So this is our N-scale light board. This is our flagship product. It has a DCC decoder on it. We've passed the first round. Well, this board's passed the compliance with NMRA. So we got a manufacturer's number just recently. So we're excited about that. We have these things called super caps. And so these are tantalum capacitors. They're fairly expensive, but they really help keep the lights on, and they fit perfectly. My first car was an N-scale Amtrak car. Actually, this is it. And we made it 11.5 millimeters, so it fits inside the car perfectly. And you just run the two wires up. And Kato, of course, has the rail pickup, so no big deal there. I'm just going to start with the HO over here because this also has, and this is controllable by our DCC system. You can set the brightness, you can turn fade on and off, the lights will blink, you can put alternate red lights in there. And what I'm going to do is take this off the track, and this is a Walters 2995 car. So this just goes to show you that you can light any car with this. It doesn't come with the wheel pickups, but let's show you the board first. It's super simple. This is our HO scale board. We have two sizes. This is the long one, and then we have 192 millimeter, which fits typically the European cars or shorter HO cars that you might have. So pretty simple, just two wires. And in this case, the pickups, we have something called floating brass. There are a lot of different pickups on the marketplace. We didn't want to get into that business, but we tried everything and it didn't really work. These are actually floating on the wheel axle, and because it wraps around the axle and is loose, it has a lot of surface area, and because it's not fastened to the truck, it doesn't pinch or bind the wheel, so it doesn't add all that extra drag that all the other types that have the pinching of the wheel sideways or to the axle. So that works really well. So here's the N-scale car. We have let's see, let's get this one going. And let's do that. So this is a car that we just did we're doing for a customer right now. They gave us 15 cars. This is the Union Pacific, Los Angeles. And we have a couple of different things here. We used our N-scale board inside under the lower level, but you'll see that the dome is also lit. We have an N-scale, well, we use it as an HO as well, a dome board. This doesn't have a decoder on it, but you can cut this. And that's what we did and fit it perfectly inside the dome car. So we just clipped it up and ran the wire. And our board has extra pads to connect to the mains, as well as separately controlled rear LEDs for the backlight. And I don't want to pick it up exactly, but you can see we took out the little plastic stuff that Kato comes with Kato, and we can separately control the lights. There's actually a light in the back one, and we can turn them on and off and make them blink and flicker and Mars effect and so forth. So we were really excited about that. And then we, as I said, we got into making this. Here's the HO scale 192 board, pretty simple there. Then we went into, customer sent us a sleeper car, so we widened the board slightly and ran LEDs on both sides. Now, what's unique about this also, in addition to the decoder, in addition to this has 12 super caps, this also has a switching power supply. So it's really cool, and it doesn't use any more power than the LEDs demand. This is affectionately called our Moab board, mother of all boards, because it's got everything on it. And so that's very simple, and you just put that in, 2 wires to connect to DCC, and you're ready to go. We kept going. So then we decided we were going to light cabooses, and we built an N-scale caboose. We sold more of these than any other product, and there's a super cap board that piggybacks on this. Just like that. You can have 2 or even 3 if you want. This thing doesn't go out. And so one of the things about adding capacitors to decoder systems is they disable the CV read and write function of the DCC decoder. Our supercap circuitry is built into the board, so it's only, the caps are only on when the lights are on. When you take it off the track or even in read or write CDs, you can disable it and the decoder will work just fine. So that's what that is. Just check the time. Okay, so we got there, and then we said, okay, well, if we can light a couple of LEDs on a board, why don't we build a board where we can light 16 channels on here? And that's what we did. This is our micro board. It's a DCC decoder for lighting buildings, and I'll show you in a second an N-scale building where we put this inside. You can see it's pretty thin. And it will run off of DCC. It'll take power from DCC and light the lights that way, or you can have auxiliary power and control with this small signal. It's a few milliamps from DCC, so you're not drawing track power to light your buildings. All right, and then there's a test board and all sorts of things for that. Okay, so I'm going to take let me show you what I just talked about, the caboose board. So here's the caboose with the lights on. Let's see if I can get this to go on. There it is. Okay, so it just stays on. And one of the things about N-scale cabooses is they're very light. Even if they have a weight inside, they tend to bounce around, rock about at the back of the freight train. When they go over the slight bumps on the track where the connectors are, or just the dirty track, the lights will go off. We have one supercap board in this car. And let me see if I can just pop it open and show you that everything just fits neatly inside. Now, we also, as we get into the building decoder in a minute, on the top of this, we have a chip. We call them chips, and then we have an LED that lights the cupola. And if you can see in the back here, it's very small. Let's see if I can get that closer in. We have an N-scale lantern. Now, you couldn't put even a 0402 LED in that. It's just too big. So what we invented was an LED dongle that connects to a 0.5 millimeter fiber optic, and we 3D printed the lantern. These things are so small, it's really hard to take a picture of them. This dongle with this lantern is inside and connected on this caboose. So really, really excited about that. So we've got a very cool layout with all these different caboose lit up and so forth. All right, so the next thing we did is we expanded that out and said we wanted to have, people had bought a lot of Woodland Scenics products, the lighting systems, and they were connecting them up. Let's see if I can find here. So here's all at Woodland Scenics with the JST plugs. This is called Japan Standard Terminal. And so we built a controller with animations already built into it. So if you're going out to buy an arc welding or a police car blinking or a couple of those things, by the time you've purchased 5 or 6 of them, you've already spent $100. Our controller has all of those basic animations built into it. In fact, this building here just has regular LEDs inside, pretty simple stuff. It's lighting the car, it's lighting the lantern. There's over 5 million possibilities of animation on the controller. And so what we've done is just plug the LEDs in here and ran them into the building. And this is a random sequence right now. It's also lighting the cars. Let me unplug this. About 7 or 8 minutes into it, I think. And so this is the same controller as you just saw. We have clear case as well. And I'm going to just plug this in and turn it on. Blue light says it's working. Let's see if I can get a good view there. The decoder number 1, 2, 3, 4 ready to go. And now we set all of the ports, there's 16 ports per controller, to what's called step mode. And there's 2 variations, chase and race. And so this is just going back and forth. You can speed this up and slow this down. You can have it going one way instead of going back and forth. All of those are possibilities. So you could have a couple of these used to light a police car. You could have for the random building and so forth. So very simple. To program this, in fact, if we want to just have this light here blink, I'm going to turn this into programming mode. Now the left-hand keys, let's see, hopefully, just select the LED port that you're going to control. We'll go back to 1, and 7 happens to be that step mode. We'll change it to 3 and save it. Go back into animation mode, and now you can see that pin 1 is just blinking, just like we go. It's that simple, and it's for adding really great animation without any soldering, without any programming. You don't need to know what an Arduino is. You don't need to solder or learn C or Python. If you want to do that stuff's great. But here's a controller, and this will fit inside an HO building. And that's what we have here. And so we just we use roomettes and we just put it in here, and it's the same concept, all right? Moving quickly. Try to get through the time here. So actually, I'm gonna turn this around. So you can see this is one of Woodland Scenic's smallest N-scale buildings, and we put the decoder board into the back we just built a styrene case, and that just fits right on top. And I'm going to select that with my decoder here. Loco happens to be 11. Oh, wrong knob. Loco, enter. There we go. So you can see I can control it, and all the building decoder boards can either be multifunction decoders or act as accessory decoders, so you can switch on each of the rooms. And in this one, in animation mode, there's actually on the top right here, when it's in animation mode, is a TV simulation. So really cool stuff. In this case, the light board is on the side, and this one it's on that perpendicular. All right, so we kept going. We did a partnership with a company called Dwarven. And let's take these apart. We'll try to wrap up in here in just a second. And we built and invented the fiber optic controller. So fiber optics are useful for point lighting, we think. If you have a big light box, then you can light other things. But if you want to control individual lighting, this is really a great solution. And one of the things that we did with this is just hooked up a car, headlights, and here's 2 fiber optics pins coming out of the back. And we're going to just connect them up to the box. Oop. Do that, get that in there again. Add power. So in this case, you can see the 2 lights. Let me move that over so you can see the 2 lights. They're set. Now what we have this set up for is our detectors. So we now have a slide under track detector. We have both infrared and magnetic. And let me see, get the power on here. 8 detectors per port. This without my glasses. There we go. Okay, turn it on. Let that fire up. Now, I was in the software business for many, many decades, and they told you never demonstrate software. Well, you see, I just put all of this stuff together. And by the way, there's a timeout. You saw it stop, and we'll just have it run over the car again. So you can change that. There are two ways to change it. There's a mechanical pin on here that you can put a screwdriver in, so from the top you can adjust it. And also the device has the ability to change the timeout. You can overlap switch controls with multifunction controls and so forth. And just a couple of other bits. We do, and I'll wrap up here. I think that's about 10 minutes. We have here the HO lanterns. These do have LEDs on them. There's a kit that comes, that's for the HO. And then we also, if you work with the regular animation controller, which has the plugs, but you want to have a couple of fiber optics, we have a fiber optic dongle. So, and you can put any one of 4 different sizes of fiber optic in there, from 0.5 millimeter to 1.5 millimeter. Run that out where you want, and then just plug it into the controller. And every port can be adjusted for brightness and of course the effects. So I'm going to pause there, and thank you very much for listening, and pass it back to you, Mike.
Wow, thanks for